Once in a Sunday class, the teacher was busy in explaining to the students who Jesus is for you. Students raised hands one by one and expressed who Jesus for them. One said, "He is my father," another said, "He is my mother," yet more said, "My brother, sister," and so forth. Little Johnny was in the same class. He raised his hand and said, "Jesus is like my grandpa." All in the class laughed loudly, including the master. And the master asked him sarcastically, "Is your grandfather because he has a big beard like your grandfather?" And the boy said, "Teacher, I do not have a father or a mother. My grandfather is everything for me. I can share everything with him and he helps me in everything. Therefore, Jesus is like my grandpa." The teacher understood the boy spoke out of experience and he applauded him for his answer. Dearly beloved in Jesus Christ, in today's gospel passage, we hear Peter acclaiming Jesus as the Messiah. Let's try to understand whether he pronounced this statement out of experience or because he heard it from someone else. Today's liturgical word presents Jesus as the suffering servant who sacrificed his entire life for the sake of the humanity. When we look into the first reading, which is taken from the book of Isaiah, the prophet is presented as a suffering servant. According to the theologians, the notion of suffering servant can be applied to a prophet or to a particular nation. Both suffered for the sake of something good. That is why the prophet tells, "I don't take any of my insults because the Lord is with me. Even when I'm insulted, I don't feel it. And I'm never frightened of the troubles that come across because the Lord is with me and He will take vengeance on my behalf." In this, the first reading speaks about a suffering servant who is ready to do something good for the nation and for his people. In the second reading, which is taken from the letter of St. James, we hear, "Faith without works is dead." The author clearly tells, if your faith is not expressed in your practical life, if your faith is not shown in your actions, in your attitudes for the good of the other, then your faith is dead. He tells, if you find someone who is hungry and suffering from cold, you go to him without giving anything, you just bless him saying, "Be happy and be warmed." Your appreciation does nothing good for him. Your faith also has the same effect in your practical life. If your faith does not come to the practical living, it is not applied into the practical way of dealing with others, your faith becomes a null and void. And God does not want a shallow faith. Thirdly, in today's gospel passage, Jesus asks a categorical question to the disciples. Who do you say that I am? Peter, the leader of the congregation, tells, "You are the Messiah." But in very short time lapse, Jesus rebukes him for not understanding God's ways. Now let us try to understand what made Peter to pronounce that Christ was the Messiah. Dear friends, Peter was a Jewish fisherman, and the entire Jews have developed a concept of Messiah. This concept of Jewish Messiah is presented in the scriptural version of Tanakh, where the Messiah is described as not a God. It is clearly told it is not a divine being. For Jews, a Messiah is a royal king just like David. A Messiah is a superhuman being who can deliver them from all their clutches. Speak exact words, a Messiah is the one who saves them from the clutches of the Romans under whom they were in captivities. So with this idea of Messiah, Peter, who was also a Jew, pronounced that you are the Messiah. Later, when we tell Jesus that he is not supposed to undergo any kind of sufferings, we understand Peter has not really known what sort of Messiah Jesus was. And Jesus immediately corrects the entire disciples and tells all of us that he is a suffering Messiah. A Messiah who suffers for the cause of the others without having a blemish for himself. Therefore, the brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, from the 24th Ordinary Sunday, let us meditate upon two important notions. The first one, who is Jesus for you? Is Jesus a father, mother, a brother, a colleague, a neighbor? Who is Jesus for you? Secondly, from where do you get this conviction? Is it your personal experience, or you have learned it from someone for which you don't have a real reason? Let God bless us all. Have a blessed Sunday.